Is there anybody here who is not registered in the class who is still hoping to add the class? Okay, so all of you are signed up for the door. I wanted to announce to you, you may have seen the flyer all over campus. On the 16th, I believe, there's going to be, they have free tickets to the Rialto Theater. How many of you have heard about the Hotel Rwanda? They're out? I understand it to be an excellent, I haven't had a chance to go over myself yet. But Hotel Rwanda, which is a film about the experiences of a Rwandan hotel, this was a hotel owner? Manager. And his experiences trying to make a difference. It's an excellent film. Free tickets notwithstanding, I think it's worth your time to get over there if you're interested in the subject, which you should be at this point. Later in the year, in the series, we will have speakers on the Rwandan genocide, actual people who experienced it as well as a Rwandan survivor. And we have Ilka to thank for the people in arranging for us to bring them. One of the things that's usually included with your syllabus is a schedule of lectures. And we're running a bit behind on those, but we should have those for you on Tuesday. And it's a full schedule. We will have extra copies just in case you'd like to give one to someone who knows, either a student or someone else, come in, follow the lectures. We are streaming on the internet. I do want to point out that at any time you are welcome to bring visitors. Okay? Our lectures are open to the entire community, both the campus community and people in the larger community. So if you would like to bring someone to share this with us, please feel free to do that. Do any of the faculty have announcements?
One of the groups that makes this lecture series possible is a community group called the Alliance for the Study of the Holocaust. And it has been around since 1982. We are enormously in their debt for their help in working with teachers in our local community and helping to raise the money to bring the speakers that we will have coming later in term. We have a meeting of the Alliance, so we may have people drift in the next hour or so as they finish their day's work, but we're very honored to have two people, one of whom has been here almost from the beginning, I think, and that's Eddie Sackler. And we're very honored to have her here today. And the other is Larry Carlin, who is our brand newest member of the board. And Larry has been involved in the commemoration of Yom HaShoah at Congregation Shomrei Torah. And Joel, I thought you ducked out, but our past president of the Alliance, Joel Newberg, who also has been associated with Santa Rosa Junior College and the Sonoma Academy. So a big thank you from all of us to all of them for all the work they've been doing on our behalf.
There were many groups that suffered during the Holocaust. The Holocaust was about a plan to institute the final solution for the complete destruction of not only European Jewry, but if Hitler had had his way, of all Jews. That may be difficult for you to put in concrete. In some countries, they were welcomed and enjoyed long periods of peace next to their Christian neighbors. In European societies where the population was primarily Christian, Jews found themselves increasingly isolated as outsiders. Jews do not share the Christian belief that Jesus is the Son of God. And many Christians considered this refusal to accept Jesus' divinity as arrogant. For centuries, the church taught that Jews were responsible for Jesus' death, not recognizing, as most historians do today, that Jesus was executed by the Roman government because officials viewed him as a political threat. Added to religious conflicts were economic ones. Rulers placed restrictions on Jews, barring them from holding certain jobs and from owning land. At the same time, since in the early church, it was not permitted to, the church didn't permit usury, which is charging interest on money. I'm sure it wasn't allowed under the church. Obviously, the Jews were not under that prohibition, and so they lent money to Christian rulers. In more desperate times, Jews became scapegoats for many problems that people suffered. For example, they were blamed for causing the Black Death. How many of you know what the Black Death is? Attacks on Jewish neighborhoods called pogroms. You may very well see some of the terms that I mentioned today on your list of terms. During the pogroms, mobs murdered Jews and looted their homes and stores. That's not really all that far away, and it's certainly not that far away from me. My grandfather emigrated to this country with most of the rest of his family, but the last two members of the family who were left in Russia were killed in a pogrom. So it is just 2 generations removed from me. As ideas of political equality and freedom spread in Western Europe during the 1800s, the Enlightenment, Jews became almost equal citizens under the law. At the same time, however, new anti-Semitism emerged. European leaders who wanted to establish colonies in Africa and in Asia argued that whites were superior to other races and therefore had to spread and take over the weaker, quote unquote, and less civilized, quote unquote, races. Some writers applied this argument to Jews, developed in the 19th century in Austria, and which Hitler was very much influenced by. Prior to that, if you were Jewish and you said, I am going to convert to Christianity, there was no stigma. You became a Christian. After this notion that you were Jewish because of your race, it became impossible to not be Jewish because it was innate. And so we find very often in the Holocaust people whose religion was Christianity were categorized as Jewish because of their racial, quote-unquote, bloodlines. And we'll learn more about that as we move along this semester. There were politicians who used this. One of those was Karl Lueger in Austria. he became the mayor of Vienna, Austria. And he appealed to voters to blame Jews, by blaming Jews for bad economic times. He was a hero to the young man in the office. He was born in 1880 in Austria. And Hitler's ideas, including his view of the Jews, were shaped during the years he lived in Vienna. It was at that time that he studied Luger's tactics and the anti-Semitic newspapers and pamphlets that multiplied during Luger's term, rather long term, as the mayor of Vienna. With that background, I would like to now, after we show the video, please have some questions.
Had the ironic side effect finding a cover for anti-Semitism. Israel is a state, and like any other state, it may be criticized for its actions without anyone being accused of prejudice. Zionism is an ideology, and one may agree or disagree with a particular ideology. This again is not a matter of prejudice. On the other hand, one cannot escape the conclusion that very frequently criticism of Israel or criticism of Zionism provides a respectable cover, no longer respectable.
دي النجمة الإسرائيلي المعروفة. التطور بتاعها دي هنقول ده نمبر 1. نمبر 2
Mustafa Hussein, a cartoonist for a leading Middle East newspaper, demonstrates how the symbol of Israel is transformed into a Nazi cross.
نمبر 4 وده ممكن يجي مع الكلام اللي انا قلته مع الناريشن اللي انا قلته.
As great as a Nazi.
Yes.
In this program, we examine the eruption of anti-Semitism in the world. Is the conflict between Jew and Arab simply a dispute over Palestine, or does it have deeper roots in the exclusive claims of Judaism? Funding for this program was provided by the Sheldon H. Solo Foundation, the Jaffe Foundation, the Harry and Jeanette Weinberg Foundation, the Corporation for, and viewers like you.
All Jews are clownish. All Jews are loners. All Jews look like everybody else. All Jews look absolutely different from everybody else. All Jews are communists and anarchists. All Jews are bankers and capitalists. All Jews love money, despise worldly goods. In other words, the image of the Jew is a protean one. It shifts. That's what's so nice about this image. It isn't just that the Jews are X. The Jews are everything that you don't want yourself to be. The Jews are everything that threatens you.
this program is about anti-Semitism, the long hatred of the Jewish people. Exiled from their homelands, Jews became outsiders, foreigners, different, despised and feared, unworthy of respect, a group seen as the other. It is about nations that crush the other. It is about people who exclude the other. This is the story of the politics of hatred. A hatred that has lasted for 1,000 years. It is about
without Christian anti-Jewish perspective that lasted for a long time, if you removed that, I think the Holocaust would not have happened. Now, that's not to say that that Christian anti-Judaism by itself caused the Holocaust, but I think it was what we would call philosophically a necessary
Rome, once capital of a great empire, remains the center of the Catholic Church, the largest Christian denomination.
Simili modo, post concenatum est, excipiens carice, et tibi gratias adens benedixi.
Christianity. What allowed millions of people who considered themselves Christians to participate as perpetrators, collaborators, or silent bystanders as 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were slaughtered? How did a competition between two sister religions become an abyss that made mass murder possible? Morning prayers for Orthodox Jews. This ritual of putting on tefillin dates back more than 2,000 years. Inside these square black leather boxes are small parchments in Hebrew with verses from
And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord of the Lord may be in thy mouth.
Belief in one God, a God who reveals himself to the Jews and bestows his laws upon them, has kept the Jewish people together throughout their long exile from the Promised Land. In ancient times, this faith in one God set the Jews apart.
The notion of the Jews of one sole God, monotheism, not just one sole God, but so unanthropomorphic, so unlike human beings, a God who doesn't eat or drink, who doesn't beget, who had never been born and would never give birth, a God who doesn't have sexual intercourse, so unlike pagan conceptions of God.
Their belief in one God and their customs brought Jews into followers of Jesus, Jewish. Jesus lived and died professing himself a Jew. His mother, the Virgin Mary, his followers, Peter and Paul, and the first apostles, all were Jewish. The psalms, prayers, and festivals of Christianity are of Jewish origin. At the Last Supper, Jesus and his disciples were celebrating the Jewish feast of Passover. Jews disagreed about Jesus. Some believed him a Messiah, fulfilling a Jewish prophecy. Most Jews did not. This difference pitted one group against the other and made the Roman authorities arbitrators of the conflict.
The communities which saw themselves as loyal to Jesus, as following Jesus, communities which will come in time to be called Christian, are living in a